Balkan, Canto 4. Arrival of Vishwamitra, departure of Ram and Lakshman with him, slaying of Tadaka. Lord Shiva said, once sage Vishwamitra, who was as radiant and brilliant with his spiritual energy as a glowing fire, realized that the Supreme Lord was manifested himself as Sri Ram, using his own delusionary powers called Maya. So he came to Ayodhya to have his darshan. Seeing him arrive, King Dasharath immediately stood up and, accompanied by Vashishta, he came forward to receive the sage. He duly worshipped him and paid his obeisance to him. Then the king folded his hands with great respect and devotion and said prayerfully, "O the most exalted sage, I have been highly obliged by your holy visit. Every prosperity, well-being and welfare come in the household where a great soul like you ever pay a visit. Now, please tell me the reason for your auspicious visit. I tell you truthfully that I shall obey your commands." Then that's most wise sage Vishwamitra said, "Whenever during the festival season, no sooner do I begin to perform the fire sacrifice, yagna, in honor of gods and dead ancestors, then Marich, Subahu, and their companion demons always defile and desecrate it. Therefore, please lend me your eldest son, Sri Ram, along with his brother Lakshmana, so that these demons can be slayed. This noble deed will result in great welfare for you as well. Consult sage Vashishta on this subject, and if you wish, give the two princes to me." Worried and alarmed, the king took his guru aside and said, "O Guru, after hundreds of years, I have got these godlike 4 sons with great difficulty. Out of them, Sri Ram is very dear to me. So what should I do now? My mind is not ready to part with him. If Sri Ram goes away from here, I shall not be able to survive. But if I refuse point blank, it is certain that sage Vishwamitra would cast his wrathful curse on me. So tell me how to safeguard my interest, and I am safe from telling a lie at the same time." Sage Vashishta said, "O king, listen to a secret which should be concealed even from the gods. It should not be divulged under any circumstances. This Ram is not an ordinary human as you think him to be, but is the eternal, absolute, supreme soul, Paramatma, who has manifested himself in this form of a human being. O you Anag, which means sinless or pure and faultless one, in earlier times, Lord Brahma had prayed to the Lord to remove the burden of the earth caused by the demonic forces. The Lord has taken birth in your household from the womb of Kaushalya to fulfill this promise he had made to the gods. In your previous life, you were Prajapati Kashyapa, the son of Brahma, and Kaushalya was Aditi, the famed mother of the gods. At that time, both of you had detached yourselves from worldly attachments and objects and had instead concentrated solely on the worship and meditation of Lord Vishnu. You had undertaken severe penances and austerities. Then, in due course of time, the Lord, who is magnanimous and beneficent towards his devotees as well as is a bestower of boons, became pleased with you and had said, "Be it as you wish." At that, you had asked the Lord, "O the faultless and eternal one, you should become our son." At which the one who has no beginning said, "Let it be so." Hence, the same Lord Vishnu, who is the Lord of the universe, has presently manifested himself as an incarnation in the form of your son, whereas Sheshnath, legendary serpent, has manifested himself as Lakshmana to serve him. The mace bearing lords, that is, Vishnu's, conch and discuss, have taken birth in the form of Bharat and Shatrughna respectively, while his delusionary powers have taken shape in the form of Sita, the daughter of Janaka. Presently, sage Vishwamitra has come with the intention, hidden agenda of making a union with Sri Ram and Sita possible. So, O King, this is a top secret. Never divulge it. You should now, therefore, most cheerfully and willingly welcome and pay your respects to sage Vishwamitra and hand over Lakshmi's Lord Raghav, that is Sri Ram, along with Lakshmana to him. When sage Vashishta had thus explained everything to him, King Dasharatha considered himself most fortunate and privileged, and with an exhilarated and cheerful mind, he respectfully called out, O Ram, O Lakshman. When the two brothers came, he clasped them to his bosom, smelt their heads as a token of deep love and affection, and then handed over them to sage Vishwamitra. Then the most famed and valorous sage Vishwamitra honored Dasharatha most cheerfully and joyously with the choicest of blessings. Sri Ram and Lakshman went near the sage. They were armed or adorned with bows, quivers, arrows, and swords, etc. Taking them with him, the sage departed from there. After some distance, away from the periphery of the city, Vishwamitra called Sri Ram near him. Most reverentially and full of devotion, he gave him two vidyas created by the gods, a special type of knowledge or acumen called Bala and Ati Bala, which help those who possess them to overcome hunger and weakness, respectively. Then they crossed river Ganges and arrived at the woods called Tartaka forest. Sage Vishwamitra said to the truly brave, valorous, and victorious Sri Ram, a demoness named Tartaka, who is able to assume any form of her choice, stays here. She tyrannizes and torments all the inhabitants of this place. You must slay her without any second thoughts. Raghunandan, Sri Ram, said yes, strung his bow and pulled it. The twang sound emanating from it reverberated in the whole forest. Hearing that fierce twang sound and unable to tolerate it, the ferocious and terrible looking Taraka became mad with anger. She rushed forward towards Sri Ram like a huge dark bank of cloud. Immediately he, that is Sri Ram, shot an arrow aimed at her bosom, at which that horrible demoness vomited or spitted out a lot of blood and fell down on the ground in the forest. Then Taraka, who had earlier been turned into demoness due to a curse, was immediately liberated from it due to the munificence, grace, and kindness of Sri Ram, and reverted back to her original form of a fully decorated Yakshini, a demigoddess adorned by various ornaments. Thereafter, she circumambulated Sri Ram, bowed before him in obeisance, and went to the heavens by his permission. Then, being most thrilled and exhilarated with joy, sage Vishwamitra embraced Sri Ram, smelt his head as a token of love and affection, and after due thought and consideration, he gave to Sri Ram all the arms and armaments along with their operational secrets, methods of using them, as well as the various mantras associated with them to invoke them. That brings us to the end of Canto 4. Canto 5, vanquishing Marich and Subahu, and liberation of Ahilya. Lord Shiva said, O Parvati, thereafter, both the brothers, along with sage Vishwamitra, spent the night in the forest called Kamashram, which was inhabited by sages and hermits. With the crack of dawn, they proceeded from there slowly onwards on their journey. They next arrived at Siddhashram, which was served by Siddhas, mystics, who are attained and expert ones, and gypsies. The resident hermits and sages of the place, on the instructions of sage Vishwamitra, swiftly welcomed and worshipped Sri Ram and Lakshmana. After that, Sri Ram advised Kaushik, another name for Vishwamitra, O sage, engage yourself in your religious rituals and the yagna, and show us where those evil demons are. Saying all right, the sage started the performance of his fire sacrifice, accompanied by other sages and seers. At about noon, those two demons called Marich and Subahu, who had the special ability to assume any form they wished, were seen raining blood and bones. The wise and intelligent Sri Ram took 2 arrows and mounted them on his bow, pulled the string right up to his ears, and shot the arrows separately at those two demons. One of the arrows spun Marich like a top in the sky and flew or flung him hundreds of miles away in the ocean. This was a stupendous and most astonishing feat. The second arrow, which was tipped with fire, burned Subahu to ashes in a second, while the rest of the demons were instantly killed by Lakshmana. The gods showered flowers on Lakshmana and Raghav, Sri Ram, sounded their kettle drums and trumpets, while the Siddhas and bards began to sing their praises and glories in honor of Sri Ram. Sage Vishwamitra duly worshipped Raghunandan, Sri Ram, with great reverence, lifted him affectionately onto his laps, and embraced him to his bosom with eyes filled with tears of love, affection, and devotion. Then he offered ripe fruits to Sri Ram and Lakshman, told them stories from the Puranas and other scriptures, and in this way, 3 cheerful days passed. On the 4th day, Vishwamitra told Sri Ram, O Sri Ram, we shall go to Janakpur to see a great yagya. There is a very huge bow called the Pinaka belonging to Lord Shiva kept there. You shall see that strong and sturdy bow, and King Janak shall duly welcome and show respect and honor you. Having said so, sage Vishwamitra, along with other sages, Sri Ram and Lakshmana, came to the hermitage of the most exalted sage Gautama, near the river Ganges. It was full of trees bearing divine and holy fruits, and Ahilya was doing severe penances and austerities, that is, tapa. Seeing that hermitage devoid of any animals, birds, or any other type of living creature, the lotus-eyed Sri Ram asked the sage, Whose hermitage is this, which is endowed with leaves, flowers, and fruits, but totally lacking in any living being, and which appears intrinsically to be very beautiful, attractive, and pure? O Lord, seeing it, my mind and intellect seems to be very delighted, enchanted, and pleased. So please tell me all about it. Sage Vishwamitra replied, O Sri Ram, listen to the earlier history of this hermitage. The world-famous, most exalted and religious-minded pious sage Gautama used to live here and worshipped Sri Hari by offering austerities and penances to him. Pleased by his celibacy and austerities, Brahma gave a girl named Ahilya, who was the most beautiful in the world and very diligent and sincere in her duties, to serve him. Gautama, who was most proficient in penances and austerities, stayed here with Ahilya. On the other hand, the lord of gods, Indra, was infatuated by her bewitching beauty, charm, and glamour. He coveted her lasciviously and was on the lookout for an opportunity to have her. Once, when sage Gautama had gone out of the hermitage, he assumed the form of the sage and slept with her and left in a hurry. But the sage also came there at that moment. Seeing him fleeing from there disguised as himself, Gautama became furious and most angrily demanded, "Oh, you wicked soul! Oh, you lowly and depraved evil rascal! Who are you to have disguised yourself as me or have assumed my form? Tell me the truth. Otherwise, I shall reduce you to ashes immediately. Do not doubt about it." Then Indra, caught on the back foot, said, "O Lord, I'm Indra, but I was overcome with lust and passion. Save me, or have mercy on me. This sinful one has done a very heinous, ignoble, and reprehensible deed." Then Gautama's eyes turned red with anger and he cursed Indra. "O you wicked, perverted soul, you have infatuated to a vagina, so let your body have 100 holes." Having cursed the king of gods, the sage entered his hermitage to find Ahilya, completely taken aback and shaking with fear, and was standing with folded hands. Seeing her, Gautama said, "O you wicked one, you should live in my ashram as a lifeless stone. Perform tapa, severe austerities and penances here, night and day without food, coping with the sun, wind, and rain, and concentrate on Sri Ram who resides in your heart. From now onwards, this ashram of mine shall be devoid of all living creatures and shall become desolate for all practical purposes. After the passage of many thousand years, Dasharath's son, Sri Ram, along with his brother Lakshmana, shall come here. When he, that is Sri Ram, will put his feet on the stone, which shall be your form, till that moment, you will be freed from your sins and consequences of your misdemeanors. You shall then worship Sri Ram with due reverence and devotion, circumambulate him, bow before him to pay your obeisance, praise and honor him, and thereby get yourself absolved of this curse. Thereafter, you shall again be able to serve me most happily, as you had been doing till today." Saying thus, the most exalted sage Gautama went to the Himalayas, which is the best among the mountains. Oh, the best in the clan of Raghu, Sri Ram. Ever since that day, Ahilya has survived eating air and doing severe penances with a hope that one day you would touch her with your holy feet. She has lived without any contact with any living creature for all this long, while in this auspicious but desolate hermitage. Now you should provide liberation to the daughter of Brahma and the wife of Gautama, named Ahilya. Saying this, sage Vishwamitra held Raghav, Sri Ram, by his hand and showed him Ahilya, who was steeped and engrossed in doing severe penances and austerities. Then Sri Ram touched that stone with his holy feet and looked at Ahilya, who was engaged in deep contemplation and penances. Seeing her, Raghav said, "I am Ram," and bowed before her respectfully. Then Ahilya looked at the one who was the best in the Raghu's clan, Sri Ram, and was wearing a silk pitambar. His forearms were adorned by a conch, discus, mace, and lotus, respectively. A bow and arrow were slung on his shoulders, and he was accompanied by Lakshmana. His face had a bewitching smile, eyes like lotus flowers, and the chest was adorned by the footprint of sage Bhrigu. All the 10 directions of the world were being lit by the radiance and glow effusing from his dark complexioned form, which resembled a Neel Mani. Seeing the Lord of Lakshmi, Ramnath, Sri Ram, the eyes of Ahilya lit up with joy and delight, and she recalled the words of sage Gautama. Recognizing that he was Lord Narayan himself, That unblemished and faultless lady worshipped and adored him by offering oblations, etc., and prostrated before him with eyes welling up with tears of extreme joy, thanksgiving, and happiness. When she stood up and seeing the lotus eyed Sri Ram, her whole body was thrilled and she began to praise him and sing his glories as follows. Ahilya said, O the abode, refuge, or shelter of this whole world, I have become highly obliged, fortunate, and privileged by having got the touch of the dust of your feet. Oh, it is a matter of great luck that I am touching those holy feet of yours, which are the subject matter of constant contemplation and inquiry by Lords Brahma and Shiva themselves. O Sri Ram, your maverick sports and deceptive playful activities are very mysteries and strange. The whole world is enthralled and under the delusionary spell of your human like behavior. You are an embodiment of complete bliss, peace, and tranquility, and are empowered with the illusion creating magical powers because, in spite of being without a feet, you always keep on moving. He, the nectar of those whose holy feet purifies the water of river Ganga, Bhagirathi, which in turn becomes potent enough to purify even Shiva, Brahma, and other lords of the universe. Today, the same feet have become the object of my eyes. I do not know how to describe my past good deeds. I worship and constantly remember Sri Ram, who bears a bow, is lotus eyed, and has incarnated himself in a human form in this mortal world. Except him, I do not wish to worship, adore, honor, or meditate upon anyone else. I contemplate and meditate upon Sri Ram, the dust of whose lotus like feet are much sought after even by the Vedas. Even Brahma has manifested himself from the lotus emerging from his navel, and Lord Shiva is intoxicated by and is an admirer of the nectar of his holy name. I take refuge at the holy feet of the Lord, the worldly activities which he undertook during his incarnation are being constantly sung and lauded in the heavens by sage Narad and other celestial sages, Brahma, Shiva, and other lords of the gods, as well as by Mata Saraswati, whose bosom is wet by tears of exhilaration, extreme joy, and bliss flowing down from her eyes. The same ancient, supreme, absolute soul is Sri Ram, who is referred to by the Purans as the Paramatma, has most graciously, kindly, and to show his profound munificence, magnanimity, and benediction on this world, assumed a delusionary, captivating form, which enthralls and holds the world in its spell, in spite of his being self luminescent, eternal, and endless, and of being the very initial cause of all that exists. You are the independent and all complete soul who assumes the form of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and all other forms by the help of your delusionary powers, for the purpose of creation, sustenance, and dissolution of this world. O Sri Ram, I bow and pay my obeisance to your holy lotus feet, which are affectionately served and adored by Lakshmi by keeping them on her bosom, which had in an earlier time measured the three worlds by a single step, and which are constantly meditated upon by sages, hermits, and seers. O Lord, you are the primordial cause of the embodiment of and the only shelter of the world. In spite of that, you are distinct from all the creatures and is radiant with the glow of matchless supreme Brahm, of whom you are an image. O Sri Ram, you are the eternal sound of the divine word Om, and are the indivisible, unmanifest Supreme Purush, the macrocosmic soul. represented by the divine. Cosmic voice encrypted in that word Om. O Lord, in the form of the word and its various connotations, you represent the entire creation. O Sri Ram, you yourself manifest in multifarious forms by the help of your multifaceted delusionary powers, or Maya, creating or doing various deeds, becoming reasons, causes for those duties, imperatives, obligations, their results, rewards, as well as resources required to fulfill them or carry them out. Those people whose mind, intellect, and discriminatory powers are held enthralled by your delusionary powers can never realize their real, truthful nature and form. Those blockheads think that you, who are the Lord of all delusions and is the Supreme Soul and Lord, are an ordinary human being. You are present both inside and outside of the space or sky, in all that exists, are pure, dispassionate, stable, eternal, most pure and holy, wise, self realized, and are imperishable. O Vibho, omnipresent, all pervading, magnanimous, eternal one, what do I know of the pure essential nature or form or true elementary essence of you? Because I am an ignorant and a dud of a woman. Hence, O Sri Ram, I only bow my head hundreds of times with the highest and most sincere devotion, humility, dedication, and submission for you. O Lord, wherever I stay, let me have eternal dedication and devotion at your lotus like feet. O the Master, the Lord of men, I bow before you. O the lover and benefactor of devotees, I bow my head before you with folded arms. O Rishikesh, Sri Vishnu, I bow before you. O Narayan, I bow my head repeatedly before you. I sing the praises, honors, and glories of Sri Ram, along with his young brother Lakshmana, who is the only one to remove the fears of this world, is splendorous and brilliant like crores of suns, who bears a bow and an arrow in his lotus like hands, has a radiance like dark clouds, is wearing a magnificent yellow garment which is colored like gold, is adorned by earrings studded with jewels and gems, and who has beautiful, enchanting, broad eyes which are like the petals of a lotus flower. In this manner, she sang the glories, honors, and praises of the Supreme Soul himself, standing in front of her, went round him, praised and honored him, and then took his permission to go to her husband's place. Those people who read this stotra, composed and sung by Ahilya, shall be liberated from all their sins and attain the most exalted stature of oneness with the Lord. Even a barren woman who recites this stotra with due devotion, faith, and conviction, with Sri Ram enshrined in her heart, and with a desire to have a son, shall be blessed by an excellent son within a year. Besides it, all her desires can be fulfilled by the grace, benediction, and munificence of Sri Ram. Even they who are the slayers of Brahmins have sexual relationships with the wife of their guru, are thieves, are drunkards, are cruel towards their parents and brothers, and are constantly engrossed in gratification of the sense organs, can have liberation from the shackles of this mundane world by daily remembering, concentrating, meditating, and contemplating upon Sri Ram, who resides in their hearts, as well as by reciting this stotra sung by Ahilya. If this salvation can be achieved by such wicked persons, what to say of those who are righteous, noble, and upright? With that, we come to the end of Canto 5. Om